Hello everyone, my name is Kashif Mirasteen. I am the instructor of this course. We are starting a series of lectures on electrochemical processes and applications. So this lecture is all about basics of electrochemistry. First, we will understand about the electrochemistry, what is electrochemistry, and then we will move forward into the details of various topics which are associated with electrochemistry. Here on this slide, I am listing some of the learning objectives. We will be discussing about what is electrochemistry, and then we will discuss about the importance of electrochemistry in our daily life. And I will explain you the fundamentals of electrochemistry in the later on slides. And then I will discuss about the types of electrochemical cells, and at the end we will discuss about some of the electrochemical processes with examples. What is electrochemistry? Electrochemistry is a branch of chemistry. In electrochemistry, we study the relationship between electricity and chemical reactions. Electricity is the flow of electron, as you know. And in electrochemistry, we deal with the flow of electrons and conversion reactions. As indicated by its name, it has two components, electro and chemistry. So conversion of chemical species to another species will generate electrical energy, right? So, or electrical energy can be used to convert one type of chemical species into another type of chemical species. So in general, conversion of chemical energy into electrical energy or vice versa, this is another definition of electrochemistry. Electrochemical reactions occur at the interface of an electronic conductor such as a metal or a semiconductor and an ionic conductor such as an electrolyte. So in general, if we think about a surface, a metal surface which is exposed to an electrolyte, it will react with the electrolyte by generating or consuming electrons. And during this process, an electrochemical reaction takes place, which means we are oxidizing or reducing the surface or species that were dissolved in an electrolyte. On this slide, I am showing you the importance of electrochemistry. Electrochemistry has wide applications in many areas. As you can see, I am showing you the various sectors in which we utilize our core concepts of electrochemistry. For instance, in hydrometallurgy, we utilize the concepts of electrochemistry in a way. During a hydrometallurgical process, metal is extracted from its primary mineral source with the application of an external energy, and during the process, valuable metals are dissolved in an aqueous medium. And during the process, we have various chemical and electrochemical reactions that progress during the extraction process. I will be explaining you in detail later on in the upcoming courses how electrochemistry is involved in hydrometallurgical metal extraction processes. Similarly, in recycling of valuable metal from e-waste or metallic waste, we can extract valuable metal by applying the concepts of electrochemistry. On the other hand, I'm showing you a few examples from electrodeposition. One is electroplating, the other one is electrowinning. In electroplating, we deposit intentional metallic species which are dissolved primarily in an aqueous medium we supply an external amount of energy to deposit on a metal surface. The examples are nickel and chromium plating. In electrowinning, which is the last or final stage step of a hydrometallurgical extraction process, in this process, we also apply an external energy in an electrochemical cell to recover and to remove valuable metal from an aqueous medium to get deposit on a metal surface. In corrosion, as you are very much familiar about the corrosion processes, and during the corrosion of any metallic structure, when it is exposed to a certain environment, any metal, when it is exposed to a certain environment, experiences various reactions, such as chemical and electrochemical reactions. For example, corrosion of steel is an oxidation of iron, and it is supported by the reduction of other species, for instance, oxygen, dissolved oxygen in water, and hydrogen ions. And during the process of corrosion, we have the progress of electrochemical reactions. And somehow we also have some chemical reactions during the corrosion process. In general, material degradation that involves electrochemical and chemical reactions, material integrity is compromised because of its reaction with environment. I will be explaining you later on in the slides how and why those reactions are spontaneous in nature and why corrosion happens. In biomedical applications, we have examples of biocorrosion and biosensors. Biocorrosion is simply a corrosion process during which any implant inserted within a body or any material exposed to a biological medium experience certain chemical and electrochemical reactions. Many electrochemical reactions are taking place in our body, which we are not familiar with. So the importance of electrochemistry cannot be denied. In energy and environment, we have few examples from energy generation. For example, we have fuel cells. In fuel cells, we supply external energy to an electrochemical cell. And during the process, we split or dissociate water into hydrogen and oxygen gases. Later on, the hydrogen gas, which is generated from the water dissociation process in a fuel cell, that hydrogen can be used as a fuel. Another example is photoelectrochemical cell, in which we supply external energy, for instance photoenergy, to promote chemical or electrochemical reaction within a cell, and later on those electrochemical reactions can be utilized to generate energy in the form of electricity. So conversion of chemical energy into an electrical energy is the main process in photoelectrochemical cells. On the other hand, I am showing you the examples in energy storage. We have batteries and supercapacitors. As you know about the batteries very well, during the charging and discharging process, various electrochemical reactions take place within a battery system. For instance, during the charging process, we supply electrical energy to a battery, which transform the supplied electrical energy into chemical energy, and later on during the discharge process, the reverse reaction take place. For example, the stored chemical energy is transformed back into electrical energy. So these all processes involve the progress of electrochemical reactions. Similarly, we have electrochemistry applications in environment. We have various types of electrocatalysis. On the electrocatalysis surface, any toxic or contaminant species, one type of species is converted to another type of species. Sensors, or in general, we can say electrochemical sensors. These sensors work on the principle of electrochemistry because some of the electrochemical reactions taking place at the interface of the sensing surface and the media, the progress of electrochemical reactions, or you can simply see the progress of electrochemical reactions are converted into electrical signals, which those sensors senses in the form of electrical signals. Capacitive deionizer is another example of ions removal from the wastewater or from the saline water, seawater, or in general from the aqueous medium. Heavy metal removal is another example in which we can apply electrochemical concepts to remove or to recover variable metals from the waste streams generated by the metallic processing industry. So this is very much clear from this slide that we have electrochemistry involved all over, taking place in various applications. So it is very much important to understand the core concepts of electrochemistry, and in the upcoming lectures we will be explaining you the details of electrochemical reactions, the fundamentals of electrochemical processes, the mechanisms, the thermodynamics and kinetics of those reactions in detail. Here I will be explaining you about the basics of electrochemistry. We can distinguish between electrochemical and chemical reactions by looking into the following examples. Let's first define electrochemical reactions. In electrochemical reactions, species undergo change in oxidation state. For example, iron is being converted into ferrous ions. Here you can see clearly iron has oxidation state of 0, and this oxidation is changing to 2+ with the release of 2 electrons. This process is called oxidation reaction, in which oxidation state is increasing from lower value to a higher value. The example is the oxidation of iron. In reverse, if this process is happening in reverse, so these ferrous ions, Fe2+, they will absorb these 2 electrons and will convert back to iron. This process is called reduction. Reduction reaction is a reaction in which any species undergo a change in oxidation state from high oxidation state to a lower oxidation state due to the consumption of electrons. So simply, electrochemical reactions are the reactions in which you will see a change in oxidation state. If the oxidation state is changing from lower value to a higher value. This is called oxidation. And if the oxidation state is changing from high to lower value with the consumption of electrons, this is called reduction reaction. To differentiate between electrochemical and chemical reactions, you will see a no change in oxidation state in a chemical reactions. For example, I am showing you the conversion of ferrous ions. When they interact with hydroxyl ions, they form ferrous hydroxide. And if you calculate the oxidation state, you will see there is no change in oxidation state of Fe ions on both sides of this equation. So whenever you see a no change in oxidation state, you can clearly see that this process is a chemical reaction. I hope you understand the concepts, and now you can clearly distinguish between an electrochemical and chemical reaction. In electrochemical reaction, the flow of electron, either it is being generated from the surface or from metal or metal species, or it is being consumed by the ionic species dissolved in an electrolyte, is termed as electrochemical reaction. And you will see the generation or consumption of electron during an electrochemical reaction. In an electrochemical cell, you will always see there must be 4 conditions that need to be satisfied. Whenever there is an electrochemical reaction, you will see there should be some conditions that need to be satisfied. Otherwise, you won't be having any electrochemical reactions. So, whenever an electrochemical reaction takes place, this is called electrochemical cell. And in electrochemical cell, we have 4 components: anode, cathode, ionic conductor, and electron conduction path. What is anode? Anode is an electrode on which oxidation reaction take place. As explained earlier, oxidation reaction involves the change in oxidation state from lower to higher state. In cathodic reaction or on the surface of cathode, reduction reactions take place. During the reduction reaction, the oxidation state of an oxidized species decreases to a lower oxidation state due to the consumption of electron. The whole process is called cathodic reaction, and this reaction occurs on the surface of cathode. To support anodic and cathodic reaction in an electrochemical cell, we also need 2 conductive paths. One is ionic path, the second is electronic path. Because in an electrochemical reaction, As I discussed earlier in an example, iron is oxidizing to iron 2 plus and generating 2 electrons. So in this reaction, we are generating an ionic species and also generating electrons. To promote this reaction or to push this reaction in the forward direction, we need the movement of ionic species and electrons. That is why ionic path, which is the electrolyte in which ions can freely move under an electric field, will ensure you the progress of electrochemical reaction. For instance, cations or the dissolved metal ions, those are also called cations, they will be generated on the surface of a metal due to the progress of oxidation reaction, and they will move towards the cathode because of the potential difference. Similarly, during the process of iron oxidation to 2 plus, iron 2 plus, electrons are being generated. Those electrons need to travel through a conductive path towards the cathode, where those electrons will be consumed by a reduction reaction. So in this diagram, on the right corner, right bottom corner, I am showing you an electrochemical cell. This is an example in which zinc is electrically connected with a copper metal. Here you can see zinc ions are being released from the metal surface by generating electrons, and those electrons are being traveling through a wire from the left side of the cell to the right side of the cell towards the copper surface. On the left side, those electrons are being consumed by the deposition of copper Cu2 plus ions on the surface of copper metal. At the bottom, you can clearly see zinc is oxidizing to zinc 2 plus by the generation of 2 electrons. This process is called oxidation. Similarly, on the right side of an electrochemical cell, copper ions Cu2 plus are consuming 2 electrons and converting into a metal species. This process is called reduction reaction. Another example of oxidation and reduction reaction is the dissolution or corrosion of steel. Iron oxidizes to Fe2 plus ions, and those Fe2 plus ions can experience chemical or an electrochemical reaction to form stable species on the surface in the form of corrosion product. And the cathodic reaction on the surface of steel is hydrogen ions reduction, or there may be an oxygen reduction reaction. We will be explaining you these reactions and the concepts behind these reactions later on in the upcoming lecture series. So briefly, anode is a surface on which oxidation reactions take place, and during the oxidation reaction we have rows of electrons. On the other hand, on the surface of cathode, reduction reactions take place during which we consume electrons. Now I will be explaining you the types of electrochemical reactions. There are two types of electrochemical reactions. One is called electrolytic cell and the other is galvanic cell. Electrolytic cells are the energy consuming electrochemical systems. The example of these electrolytic cells are electroplating and electrowinning processes. In these processes, we have to supply energy to move forward an intended reaction. For instance, deposition of metal. That is why we need an external source of energy to promote this type of reaction. That is why this process is called non-spontaneous. In galvanic cell, we have energy generation due to the progress of spontaneous reactions. At the bottom, I am showing you the two cells. One is electrolytic cell on the left side and galvanic cell on the right side. Non-spontaneous systems, those systems are energy sink in which we require an external source of energy. So electrodes are connected with a power system to promote anodic and cathodic reactions. The examples are electrolysis, electrodeposition, electroplating, and electrosynthesis. In energy sink, the cell potential, the potential difference between positive and negative electrode, is always less than 0 because cell potential is measured by the difference of potential on the cathode and anode. In the energy source, the cell potential is always positive because the potential difference between the potential of cathode and potential of anode is always positive in energy generating devices. The examples are corrosion of metallic materials. In batteries, during the discharge process, we have galvanic reactions. So in terms of free energy, in non-spontaneous reaction, we have cell free energy always greater than 0. That is why this system is called non-spontaneous system. In energy source or in galvanic cell, we have spontaneous system in which the delta G, which is the Gibbs free energy of the cell, always is in negative value. So we have delta G cell less than 0. On this slide, I am showing you a few examples of electrochemical processes. On the left side, I am showing you the metal extraction process, which is non-spontaneous in nature, meaning we need to supply an external source of energy to convert minerals into metal. During the process of metal extraction, we convert the mineral which is sitting at its lowest energy state and promoting to convert into metallic form, which is its high energy state. So the difference between the final energy state, which is the high energy state, to the lowest energy state, which is in the form of mineral, is always positive. That is why we have delta G, which is the Gibbs free energy difference, is always greater than 0. And this process is non-spontaneous. So in summary, in metal extraction, we always need an external energy for the conversion of minerals into metal. On the other hand, when a metal is exposed to certain environment, it experiences corrosion because metals are sitting at their highest energy state, and whenever they are exposed to an environment, they release the stored energy which was stored during the metal extraction process, and now they will release that energy by converting from metal to corrosion product. And corrosion products are formed because those are at their lowest energy state. So all the species, all the metallic species, they tend to achieve their lowest energy state. And during achieving that lowest energy state, they release the amount of energy. That is why this process is always spontaneous in nature. And corrosion is a clear example of a spontaneous process. Another example of electrochemical processes and the types of cell is an energy storage device. For example, I am showing you here a lithium-ion battery in which during a charging process we have a non-spontaneous process, meaning we are supplying external energy which is being stored in the form of chemical energy within a cell. And this process is non-spontaneous in nature, and the cell behaves as an electrolytic cell during the charging process. And during the discharge process, the same battery behaves as a galvanic cell because the stored chemical energy is now being transferred back into an electrical energy, and this process is spontaneous in nature. So these are the few examples of electrochemical processes and the types of electrochemical cells. Here are some additional examples of electrochemical cells. In electrolytic cell, we have an example of electrodeposition of zinc on the surface of aluminum under applied condition. So in an electrolytic cell, we need to supply an external energy to promote the deposition of dissolved metallic ions to deposit on a conductive surface. That is why this process is non-spontaneous in nature, and difference in Gibbs free energy is always greater than 0. On the other hand, material degradation due to corrosion is a spontaneous process because metals which stand at high energy state tends to release the amount of energy, a certain amount of energy, and converting back into their lowest energy states. And this cell is galvanic cell, and the process is spontaneous in nature. That is why we have always Gibbs free energy difference in negative.